Welcome to Cosmic Connection and the Cat Anders team. We are going to walk you through many subjects systematically. We'll cover many of your questions or concerns along the way. We'll then put it all together at the end of the reading and address any specific questions not covered at that point. The first thing you need to know is that your left hand is your past or inherited hand. Your right hand is your present and future. It does not matter what your dominant hand is. Most of the work we do is on the right hand. Sometimes we'll reference your left hand. Before we get started, let's give you some quick basics of hand analysis so it will be easier to navigate and understand the lines and marking in this reading. Palmistry is about 2,000 to 3,000 years old. In this 21st century, it is better known as hand analysis. Originators have gone through and named all the fingers and certain sections of the hand with names of Greek gods and goddesses or with astrological names. So, the index finger is the Jupiter finger. The middle or business finger is the Saturn finger. The ring finger is the Sun finger, some call it the finger of Apollo. Finally, the little or pinky finger is the Mercury finger. Now, your lifeline starts between the thumb and index or Jupiter finger. It will travel down around the base of the thumb. It represents your pulmonary system, your breathing. There are many other minor lines that protrude from, or touch on this line. We will explore those lines throughout the reading. The next major line is your head line. It spans across the middle of your palm, horizontally, and represents how well you use your mental energy, your intelligence. The third major line is the heart line. It spans across the top of the palm and represents your emotional status and heart health. Finally, the fate line, which starts at the bottom of your palm, by the wrist, and navigates up through the center of your palm towards your middle or Saturn finger. It reveals changes in your career and lifestyle. Okay, let's get started. Here's Anthony.
Okay, we're going to start with the shape of your palm. This is your most important talent. And as we take a look at your palm, you actually have kind of a combination of two different palms. You have a long palm, which means that you're a philosophical thinker. You tend to kind of overanalyze things sometimes. You kind of think things to death. Now, in combination with that, you also have a spatulate palm. And what that means, whoops, I lost my chart here. It means that you're imaginative, you're impulsive, you're original, you're kind of an unconventional thinker. All right, let's go on to the fingertips. And the fingertips represent your personality type. And as we take a look at your fingertips, you have a combination of fingertips also. You have round fingertips. That means that you're intuitive, you're quick, you're compassionate. You do quite well in the health field. Let's see. Oh, yeah, your occupation, clinical administrative coordinator. So that sounds like you are in the health field. And you also have spatulate fingers. These two fingers right here. When you have those spatulate fingertips, it means you're intense, you're dramatic, you're energetic and adventurous. A lot of actors and actresses have those type of fingertips. Okay, let's take a look at your finger lengths. This is also your talents and your abilities. We're going to start with your thumb. You want to measure that up here against the index. Let's see. We got a image that's closed down. Well, you can tell that comes up to about here. And when you have that long thumb, it means that you have good manual dexterity. A lot of artists and surgeons, anybody that works with their hands, have those type of thumbs. It means that you actually do quite well in life. Okay, now as we take a look at your index finger or your Jupiter finger, this is a leadership finger. And you want that, when that measures up next to this business finger or this Saturn finger, you draw an imaginary line right about here. And you want that finger to go up past that. And yours goes well past that. It means you have good leadership skills. These are like politicians and managers and supervisors. And it sounds like you are in the right job there, the administrative coordinator. Okay, Now let's take a look at this middle Saturn finger. Like I say, this is your business finger. If I can get my images from getting squirrely on me here. And you want that finger to be at least 3/4 the length of that palm. And if it is, it means you have a good business sense. Actually means you do quite well in business. Now, as we take a look at that ring finger, that's the sun finger, or the finger of Apollo. This is actually your right brain finger. This is your creativity. And same thing as when we looked at that index finger, that Jupiter finger. Draw an imaginary line right here, and yours goes well past that. It means you're a very creative person. It means you think outside the box. Okay, now as we take a look at that little finger, that pinky finger, this is your finger of Mercury, and this is your left brain thinking, and it's actually your scholarly finger. And you want that to be at least the length of this. It looks like yours might go just a little bit longer than that. It means that you are a scholarly person. And this is actually the finger of like doctors and lawyers. Okay. While we're over on this section of the hand, let's go down to your heart line. Let's expand that out so we can see that a little better. We want to take a look at that heart line and see how well you get along with people. If you have these little tassels, and you've got some good tassels there, it means that you do interact well with people. Especially when we look at the fate line. You want that fate line to come kind of out on the edge and move out this way. You have kind of a combination. You're a little bit of a private person, but you're also a social person. So that means that you do interact well with people. Okay, let's move over to your relationships and marriages. And let's pull up this image here. So as we take a look at the edge of that right hand, we're looking at these horizontal lines. And you have kind of a time frame here. This is the end of that heart line, bottom of that ring around that Mercury finger. And that first half, or actually we break that up into thirds. That first third is your 20s and 30s, then 30s and 40s, and then 50s and on up into your 80s. And as we take a look right here, it looks like you've got a couple of little relationship lines. One of those could be that marriage line. Let's see. It looks like you were married at 25 and divorced at around 29 or 30. So generally, if it's under 5 years, the lines are really short. So that could be a relationship line there. And then that marriage line. You can see how it's short, how it goes long, then it just kind of fades out. But then as you move up the edge of that hand, you've got a really strong marriage line. And it has a nice deep color to it. You don't see a bunch of breaks or interruptions in the line. It looks to be a good, strong line. Then we don't see any other lines beyond that. So we see just that, another really good marriage line, but it's a long marriage. Look how long that line is. Looks to be a good marriage too, because it's got some good color to that line. Let's move over to your left hand, and we can find a time frame on that. And how we do that is we look on your fate line that goes up the center of your palm, and we're looking for a little Y that sprouts off of there. Let me expand that just a little bit more. Your lines are just a little bit light. They're a little bit hard to see. But as we take a look at that line, it looks like right around age maybe 46 or 47, you'll have that opportunity to marry. And we'll show you timelines on these in a little bit when we look at some of the other lines. But that's right around that age, actually from about 45 to 47, somewhere in there. You've got that little Y and it's got a little dot. But it's a good, strong marriage. It's a good line. Looks to be a nice, kind, loving marriage. Okay. Let's go over here and take a look at your children lines. And how we do that is we look for lines that come off of that bottom ring of that pinky finger, that mercury finger. And they're going to be vertical lines. And it looks like you've got a couple of them here. Some really strong lines. And that's any child that you have a strong bond with. Now, whether or not that's biological children, we can't say. It could be godchildren, adopted children, stepchildren, or it could be a good close bond with children from friends, or it could be nieces or nephews. But regardless, you've got two very strong lines there, a good close bond. Then you have a little gap and a bunch of little lines behind there. These are actually grandchildren lines. We don't usually count these in your hands. We've never got a good accurate read on those. I mean, we see 3 or 4, maybe 5 lines here. But you have two very strong children lines here. Good close bond. Okay, let's go over to this right hand. And we're going to take a look at your money lines. This is the fun part that everybody wants to know. Now, how these work is we come up off the top of this headline right here, and that's just about right there around age 20. And then as we follow these little lines up, when that crosses that heart line right there, that's age 45, and then age 80 right up here, that bottom ring of that mercury finger. And as we travel up, let's expand that just a little bit more so you can see those lines. Now what these are actually income streams. And they can come from a job or inheritance, anything that brings money into your household. It could be student loans. You have to count student loans. Anything that increases that household income. And as we look at that, it looks like you've got a couple of them coming up here, maybe 3 around age 20. And this could even be if you're getting help from family or friends or like government assistance, anything that increases that money flow into the household. It looks like you've got about 3 or 4 of them here. And then if we go from age 45 to 20, right there in between is right around age 32 and a half. And that looks like that changes there in your early 30s. And you've got just a couple of lines that go up. And let's pull this down. And then like we said, as soon as you cross that heart line, that's right around age 45. And those couple of lines go up there all through into your 40s. And then as you get up into your 50s here, now that's age 45, that's age 80. Right about in the center there is age 62 and a half. So we'd count that up or down from either that center point or from that heart line. And it looks like you get right here about to this section right here, and you get a bunch of multiple lines. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's right there, right around age, probably in your early 50s. And those lines go up there for quite a while. And then you get some additional lines here, up there in your 60s. Looks like you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And these are really hard to see sometimes. We'll expand that a little bit more. And those travel up there all the way into your 70s. Looks like you've got some good income streams. You can see them right there. Now, as you get up here into your 80s, let's take a look. And you've got some good income streams here. They go all the way up into your 80s, actually all the way up into your 90s. Let's go over and look on your Saturn finger and see how far those lines go in there. Yep. That fate line goes up there all the way up into your late 90s. So you've got some good income streams all the way into your 90s, so you're going to be well taken care of. So those are your money lines. Okay, let's take a look at your heart line now. And your heart line shows not only your emotional state, but the health of your heart. And you've got a nice curvy heart line right there. And this generally means, not always, but generally means that you were kind of raised in a good family, in a nice, kind, loving family. That's not always the case, but generally it is. It means you're actually a very compassionate person. Now, as far as heart health goes, it's a nice consistent line. You don't see any great big breaks or islands. You got a little bit of an island right here. That's up there probably in your 60s or 70s. A little bit of stress. And you do have a couple of these little triangles underneath here. And that would indicate a little bit of stress on that heart. But we'll talk more about that when we talk about the spine line here in just a minute. But other than that, that heart line looks really good. Nice and consistent. You don't see a lot of fussiness. Another way to tell on that heart is you want to take a look at your fingertips, especially underneath your fingernail beds. And you want a nice pinkish color in those fingernail beds and on those fingertips. Generally, if you have poor circulation, you'll see kind of a bluish tinge on these fingers. And yours looks like you've got some good color all the way up and down there. Looks like you have good circulation. And like I say, it's a good, strong heart line. Now, as we're on this heart line, let's go over to this area right here. This is your intuition or your sixth sense. And what this is this is the mound of Jupiter. And when you have a nice puffy mound like that, it means you have a strong sixth sense. What it actually is a good connection to your guardian angels. It means, and they communicate with you through your subconscious mind. And you've got a very strong intuition. It means you have a good connection. When you have these, let's see if you have any little psychic X's here. Oh, actually you do, right here. That means you kind of see, feel, and hear things before they happen. You get that gut feeling. You kind of know when things are going to happen. You get that pit in the middle of your stomach, knowing when things are either going to go good or bad. But you have a very strong connection. And I'll tell you how you can foster this is if you ever have a problem or a question or something that's just on your mind and you can't solve, find a nice quiet room that's free from distractions. And go in there and sit. Now clear your mind of all thoughts as clear as you can get it. And then ask the question out loud. Ask them to your guardian angels or that higher power. And then just sit there and ponder on it and then get up and walk away from it. And get about your day for about an hour or two. And just put it out of your mind. Let your subconscious mind work on that. And that connection with that higher power, those guardian angels. And then after about an hour or so, come in and sit down and ask the question again. And then calm your mind and listen for an answer. And you'll get your answer. You may have to do it a couple of times. More than once. But you have a very strong connection. This actually works really good at night. If you do this at night before you go to bed, and when you wake in the morning, you'll find that you have a solution to that problem. Okay, let's move over to your headline. And this the line that goes right through the center of your palm here. This is actually how well you use your mental energy. Try to get that whole thing in the center there. And you want this line to be nice and straight. The straighter across that palm that goes, the better use of your mental energy you have. And yours does go pretty straight. Looks like you've got a pretty good use of that mental energy. Actually, it's a very strong use of that mental energy. You don't see any big breaks in the lines that would interrupt that. Now, you do have a little dip down right here on the end. And when that dips, that can indicate a little bit of stress sometimes, a little bit of anxiety, possibly a little bit of depression sometimes. But we'll talk a little more about that when we talk about the spine line and the effects of that. But other than that, it's a very strong headline. That actually lends itself to your intelligence. You're actually very intelligent. Okay, we are going to take a look at your spine line. And a lot of people have always questioned this. They're like, well, what's the spine line? What's that got to do with handwriting? Well, I'll tell you, years ago when Kat was getting her master's degree in health education, she ran across a book by a Dr. Eugene Scheiman, and it talked in there about how you can see the health of your spine, and if you have any problems with that, right there on that headline. And she did a lot of research on that. So, how this works is we look for little anomalies on that headline, like these little triangles and little squares and things like that. And how that works is, as we travel along that headline, so the spine line and the headline are actually the same line, it's just that you have little anomalies that come off of that. This first section, as you draw a line down here, that is your cervical spine. That's that neck area. And then as we travel down from here to here, that is actually your thoracic spine. And then as we get down here by that pinky finger, and down in this area, that's your lumbar spine. And then you get down into that sacrum and coccyx down at the very end, the little tailbone. And let's see, let's pull up this chart here. So that's that cervical spine, the thoracic that we talked about, the lumbar spine, then the sacrum and the little tailbone down here. And as we take a look at yours, we pull that right hand image up, and we're looking right here in this cervical spine area. See, we can see these little triangles here. And what that indicates is some kind of an issue with those little vertebrae or discs in that cervical area. Let's see here. And we see you have listed down here ASD. We're assuming that's in that autism spectrum, or like that ADD spectrum there. And let's pull up the chart. Now, when you're out in that neck area, what that does is kind of pinches off nerves sometimes, and that can cause that signal that comes from the brain out to the body. It can cause a little bit of disruption, and we've got like ADD right here, but that could affect that autism spectrum also. When you have that little interruption in signal in that neck area. Now, as we travel around, let's get the fingers up there so we can kind of see them. Like I say, this is in that thoracic part of your back. You can see some little anomalies here. Now, this doesn't mean, you didn't say if you had any damage in your back or if you had any accidents or anything like that, but they just could be turned out of place. And we see that in the very bottom of that cervical spine, we come down, looks like you're out of place or you've got some issues all the way down to that 7C, all the way down to the bottom of that neck. And then when we get down into that thoracic spine, right there, that's what they call the dowager's hump. And you probably know this, when you get these really lot older people, you see where they're kind of bent over at the neck. And that's where they're bent over at that dowager's hump right there. But it looks like that 1T and 2T are affected also in that thoracic spine. And then as we travel down a little further in that thoracic spine, you can see that you've got some issues there at the 4T down to the 8T. That's kind of right there between the shoulder blades and down to the middle of your back. And then as we get down in this lower area, that's in that lumbar area. That's down in this area right here. And you see you got some little anomalies right there also. That's down in that hip region, in that lumbar area. And then looks pretty good. And then you get down to the very end, down to that coccyx, that little tailbone. It looks like you might have an issue right there with that. Right down there at the very end of that line. And where we had talked a little bit earlier about that heart line, where we'd seen some little stressor markings there. When you've got that 2T out of place right there, that can cause a little bit of stress on that heart line. It can lead to a little bit of chronic fatigue, a little bit of anxiety. And then where we had seen on that headline, where that dips down just a little bit right here, where we talked about anxiety and possibly a little bit of depression. And that also relates to some of these little islands and little markings we see up here in this neck area, in that cervical area. And when you have those, let's pull up that chart again. You can see where that causes a little bit of maybe depression sometimes. Sometimes it can be severe, sometimes it can be just light. But when you've got that 7C out, that can cause a little bit of anxiety, and that 2T also. That can really exacerbate anxiety also. So you can look up and down your chart here and see what the symptoms are. Oh, I didn't tell you. This next column, the areas column, shows what parts of the body are affected when you've got some issues with those little vertebrae or discs. And then the effects are all the way over to the right. These are the symptoms right here. And I'll tell you, when we see this, what we usually suggest is to get into a good chiropractor, or even better yet, a good physical therapist, and see if they can't get that realigned, get that energy flowing correctly down through that spine. Especially where you have that 1 and 2C out of place. You want to get that adjusted and get that energy flowing down through that spine correctly. And we can't say that that would solve anything to do with ADD or ASD, but it's a good starting point, because once you get that energy flowing correctly and you're going 100%, your the body just works a lot better and you feel a lot better. And especially where you've got that 1 and 2C out, you want to find somebody that knows cranial sacral work. And what they'll do is they'll go into the roof of the mouth and they'll adjust those little plates, and then that allows them to get up and adjust this 1 and 2C, that atlas and that axis, because those kind of sit up underneath your skull there a little bit. It's really amazing. We'll do these charts for clients, and they'll take them into their doctor, and when they do like x-rays or they kind of check out the spine, how accurate these charts are. Okay. We are going to take a look at your health line. And what this health line shows is the health of your internal organs. And that kind of starts about the center of your palm, and it goes up to this mercury finger, that little finger. And you want to see one solid line going up there. And yours goes pretty good. And what this shows is the health of those internal organs, and more specifically that digestive system. And like I say, yours goes pretty good, but then it kind of splits off a little bit. So that shows a little bit of stress on those internal organs. Once you get in there and get that spine adjusted, get that energy flowing correctly, you're going to find that this line actually cleans up really good. Okay, now we're going to talk about your guardian angels. And we'll go over to this left hand. The left hand shows who your guardian angels are, and the right hand will show if you've had visits or any kind of intervention from your guardian angels. And how that works is you have little lines that come up and they touch on this lifeline right here. And you have a timeline that goes down around this lifeline. Let's get that up in the middle there so we can see it. That lifeline starts in between the thumb and index finger here. And as we travel down around, this is about age 10 right here. And then as we travel down that lifeline, we draw an imaginary line right here between that index and middle finger. And where that crosses is right around age 20, 21. Then as we go down, that's your 20s. And then your 30s, we draw an imaginary line across here. That's right around age 30 years old there. And then as that line comes down, when that kind of breaks and moves down around that thumb, that's right around age 39, 40 right there. So this is your 40s. And then you get into your 50s here. Right on the edge there is around age 56. And then as that line moves up around the side and back of your hand, that's your 60s, 70s, and 80s. And let's see here. Let me pull up that timeline chart. You can see, so you have a reference right there, age 10. And then we come down with that imaginary line, age 21, age 30. And then as that breaks, you get into your 40s and 50s, and then around the back side of your hand is into your 60s, 70s, and 80s. So as we take a look at that lifeline, your guardian angel lines will be lines that come up and they touch. They run kind of parallel to that lifeline, and they'll come up and they'll touch on that lifeline. Now where they touch, that designates the passing of a loved one. And it shows what age you were when they passed. So let's say that you had a grandpa or grandma, anybody that cares about you and knows about you. Let's say you had one pass around age 12. And where that line comes up and touches, then you'll have another little intersecting line that shows where that line, where those three lines converge. Okay. Let's expand that up there so we can see a little better. So starting here on the edge of the hand is age 10. And we're going to look at, let's see here. We've got a couple of lines that are coming up here. A couple, 3 lines. So we go from age 10, 11, 12, 13. You've got a little line that comes up here, and then you see that little intersecting line. So whoever passed away when you were 13 years old, and this could be parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, cousins, uncles, aunties. It could be close friends, like a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or children. If you have children that pass away, these are always, they always become your guardian angel. So right there around age 13, let's check that again. 10, 11, 12, yep, right around age 13, 14 years old. Then it looks like you've got another line there at around age 14 or 15. Let's see, that's that line there. Then we go 15, 16, 17. Whoops. Come down here, that's right around age 21. So you've got another line that comes up here. That looks like that's right there at around age 17 or 18. And then we have another line that comes up. Looks like it hits right about there. That's right there around age 19 or 20. Then let's take a look here as we come down. And this image is just a little bit grainy still. It looks like you have another line that comes up here in your early to mid-20s. Another guardian angel. And that's how old you were when that loved one passed away. Let's go down here a little farther. We don't see any other little lines there. And then is where that breaks. You want to look at these lines underneath. So right there in your late 30s, early 40s, you've got a couple of guardian angel lines also. And that's as far as we go. We don't go past the age you are now on those lines. So that's how you figure out who your guardian angels are. All right, let's move over to the right-hand image. And we're going to look to see if you've had any guardian angel interventions or protection from them. And this is anything that's happened in your life. Let's say that you were in an accident or something and you survived and you come out unscathed. Or if you've had a manifestation of a guardian angel, that you've seen them in dreams, or actually if you've actually had a direct contact with them and they've come to warn you about a situation in the future. Or if they just are kind of hanging around and protecting you. And we look at this same timeline around that lifeline, age 10, and then we come down here, age 20, 21, and then in your 20s and 30s and down around. And let's take a look here. It looks like you've got a guardian angel line that comes up and touches right here. So that'd be 10, 11, 12, probably around age 13. And you had one on your other hand that was around that age. And then 14, 15, 16, 17, you've got a very strong guardian angel line there. Do you remember a guardian angel interaction around that age? And then we come down here, and you've got another little line right here. It's really faint. Comes up and touches right there. Now on this hand, you won't have that to intersect that third intersecting line. Let's come down here and see. So right around, that's around age 20. You got a really faint line there. They're in your late teens, early 20s. Then as we move down a little farther, down this lifeline, and then we see another little intervention there in your late 30s, early 40s. And I'll tell you, we've been really accurate on these guardian angel lines. There was, if you don't mind, I'll tell you a little story. Kat was out at this little store out in Lava Hot Springs, Idaho, and she was reading the palm of a little older gentleman who was probably in his 50s or 60s. And he was telling the story about how when he was 40 years old, he was sitting at home and he was reading the paper, and then he got this strange feeling. He looked up on the mantle where he had a picture of his portrait, actually, of his deceased wife. And then he hears this voice in his head that says, "Go out and find your daughter." And his 16-year-old daughter had gone out to a high school football game, and she was late getting home. So he's getting a little concerned. And then the voice, again, and very loudly stated, "Go out and find your daughter." And this really grabbed his attention. So he called up his sister, and they went all over town looking for his daughter. And they finally ended up and were guided to this little mom-and-pop restaurant. And when they got there, they could see that there was a commotion out back, and they went out there, and his daughter was out there kind of crying, and there were some bikers that were riding around her, and they were harassing her. Well, good old Pop ran them off, and she tells the story about how she had gone in and was looking for the restroom, and she got out back somehow and got lost and got tangled up with these guys. Well, she was sitting right next to him as Kat was reading this gentleman's hand, and she says, let me look at your hand here. And as she looked at her hand, she could see a guardian angel line that came up right there at age 16. And her dad had one right there at age 40. So the lines actually showed at the same timeline. Isn't that interesting? We're actually going to publish a book with all those guardian angel stories. We've got hundreds of those guardian angel stories. So these lines are very, very accurate. Let's take a look at your achievement lines. And how these work is we use that same line, that same lifeline, and we take a look at lines that come off the top of this lifeline. And those are achievement lines. These are anything that you achieve, whether it's graduating from school, winning awards, getting a new job or getting a job period, starting a business, anything that you achieve. And they run on that same timeline, around that lifeline. So as we take a look at your achievement lines, we start here at age 10. So 11, 12, you've got a really strong achievement line here. Now you've got a couple of lines here that we don't actually see very often, and they go over across this line here, and those are actually obstacle lines. So it looks like they're around 10, 11, 12. Maybe did you have some obstacles or something that happened there before your teens? That's generally what those show, is some kind of obstacle in your life. But you overcome them because you've got some really good achievement lines. Let's see. 10, so around 11, 12. Then you got those obstacles there, probably around age 13. Then 14, 15, 16, you've got some good achievement lines. Let's see, coming down here, this is right around age 20. So in your late teens, early 20s, you've got some really good achievement lines there. Let's see, did you say? Yeah, you've got college, so that could be your college years. There in your early 20s, some good achievement lines. And then we draw a line here, that's your 30s. Got a good achievement line there. Some little obstacle lines there maybe. In your early 30s. You get into your mid-30s. Oh, you've got a little lucky triangle right there. In your mid to late 30s. Did you have a really good opportunity there that you took advantage of? That's a nice little lucky triangle. Then as we come down around the hand, like we say, when that starts to break, that's in your late 30s and going into your 40s. And then as we come around here, you got some good achievement lines. When that line breaks, what happens is those lines come up on the inside. So it looks like as you get into your, there's in your early 40s, a couple of good little achievement lines. But then as you get into your mid-40s, you've got some really good achievement lines here. Some nice dark lines. And those travel up there into your 50s. You've got some really good, your early 50s, some really good achievement lines. And then as that approaches into your late 50s and into your 60s, you've got some really good achievement lines there. And that's actually when we really prosper, is in our when we hit into our 40s and 50s and into our 60s. That's really a strong time of opportunity and achievement. And you've got some really good achievement lines there. Moving up into your 60s, you've got some good achievement lines. And even into your 70s and 80s, some good achievement lines. So you're going to be very productive up there into your 80s. Then it looks like you kind of relax there up into your 80s and 90s a little bit. You still got some little achievement lines there. But you've got some good achievement lines. Okay. Now we're going to take a look at your fate line. And this actually indicates changes in your career or lifestyle. And it looks like you have kind of a combination of fate lines at the start here. You got one that runs up through the bottom, right through the center. But then you have one that's a little bit on the outside here. And that indicates that you're actually kind of, even though you're really private, you kind of force yourself to be a little bit social. It looks like, especially being in an administration thing, it looks like you have to really get along with people. But by the end of the day, when you're done dealing with people, you like to kind of go close yourself off and decompress. So your fate line actually goes, like I say, you have kind of a dual things. Oh, let me tell you about the timeline here. We start at the bottom of the wrist. That's right around age 20. And where that line comes up and crosses your headline, that's right around age 40. Then this is around age 50. And then that bottom ring is around age 80. And then that goes up into your 80s and 90s. And let me pull that reference chart up. You can see right here, 20, 40, 50, and 80. So if you forget, you can always reference this chart right here. So as we take a look at your fate line, like I say, this is your changes in your career or lifestyle. They're really both interconnected. So as we travel up that line, it looks like you've got a couple of lines here that go up through your 20s and 30s. And then that line's pretty consistent. Up there, coming up to your 40s. How you can always check this is you can count backwards about 1/8 of an inch for every year. So you've got 40, 39, 38. Looks like you've got a little change there in your life around 38, 37. Then 36, you've got a change there. These little Y's that come off of here will indicate a change. Or if you have a little break and other additional fate lines. So then we come down into your mid-30s, down into your earlier 30s. Looks like you've got a little change there. Actually, that is your health line. But you still got some things. Looks like you had some opportunity there in your 30s. You got some little triangles there. Those are little opportunities. Now, you're probably more interested, let's see, you're 43 years old. Let's expand that. Make sure we get the right line here. Let's get that right in the center. So as that fate line goes up there, it looks like you had that change there around age, looks like anywhere from 37 to 38, because you've got two lines going. And these actually show responsibilities too, and they could be jobs or any kind of responsibility, like maybe taking care of someone in a job, or a job in some kind of a cause you're working on. So that line stays pretty consistent. You get up here into your 40s, that's about age 45. Looks like you might have some little changes here around age 44 or 45. But other than that, that goes up there pretty straight. And then you have some additional lines. You can see right here, starting about your mid-40s, you got some additional responsibilities. And that, like I say, that could be maybe two jobs, or it could be maybe a job in a business that you're working on. So you've got some added things going on there. Let's see, let's expand out just a little bit. So as you cross this 50 line, looks like that changes right here in your early 50s, and you've got one responsibility, just one thing going on. Now, this is age 50, this is age 80, right about halfway between is age 62 and a half. So it looks like as you move up into your 50s and into your 60s, you've got a couple of other things going on there, because you've got three lines going up. Then that settles down, you get up around 62 and a half, and then this is probably right around age 65, and then you've got some other things going on. So that could be a retirement age, and then You get into some different things, maybe business or projects, or it could be spending a lot of time with family. Because you got several lines that go up here, a little bit of changes there in your 70s. But then that goes up there, up through your 80s, and all the way into your 90s, your late 90s. So it looks like you're going to be quite active all the way up into your 90s. We've been finding that quite recently, a lot of people, they're having lines going up into their 90s, and I think we're going to get a lot of medical advances that really extend the quality of life up into our 90s. We've actually been seeing some of the lines go up there into centenarians also. Okay, so that's how your fate line works. Now, a little bit earlier, we talked about your money lines and achievement lines, so we're going to kind of put these together a little bit, give you a little better picture of what's going on. And how we do that is we compare what's going on these timelines with these with the fate line, the money lines, and achievement lines. So let's actually start right here. Let's see, you're 43, right here in your 40s. Like I say, you got looks like you got some additional things going on here in your mid 40s. And like I say, that could be another job or maybe a business. I don't know if you're interested in starting a business. I mean, you'd actually do quite well in business. And then we get over here in your mid 40s, and we can see that you're starting to get some additional income streams there. As we move up into your 50s. So it looks like things are going to start getting a little intense for you here. You're going to have some things going on. And then as we look down here on your achievement lines, you've got some good achievement lines there. So whatever your ambitions are, looks like they're really going to start coming to fruition here in your mid-40s. Let's look up here a little bit farther into your 50s. Looks like things kind of settle down there, but then you have some additional lines going on. And then we can see here in your 50s, you have additional income streams coming in. So you have got these lines starting here. Let me expand a little bit more so you can see that a little better. That's going to be 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, right up in that. You can see that you've got a lot of little income streams coming in, some additional income streams. And then as we move down to look at your achievement lines, you can see that's right here in this area. Remember, right on the edge of that hand is right around age 56. So you've got some good achievement lines coming in here. Right there through your mid 40s into your 50s. So you're coming into a really productive time in your life. So that's how we put all those lines, those three lines, major lines together, to where you kind of see the big picture. Oh, while we're over here, underneath this sun finger, you have what is called creative achievement lines. See these lines right here? And these creative achievement lines, it means that you're going to do something creative. And when we look over here, you have a little bit of a fame line right there too. So whatever you do, it could be maybe writing a paper, creating music, a piece of art, anything that's creative, or if you invent something or invent a different way of doing something, whatever it is, you're going to be recognized for it because you got that little fame line there. Might even become a little bit famous for it. And you've got those creative achievements, and you've got a very long creative finger. See where that line is there? Look how long that is. Very creative. You think very outside the box. Very original thinking person. So, if you don't know what that is, ask your guardian angels, and they'll let you know. Kind of get your mind primed for that, and ask your guardian angels what that could be. Whatever it is, it's going to be very significant. Okay, let's take a look around the hand here and make sure that we've got everything. And I think that we have. You actually have some very strong lines in your hands. They go along nice and consistent. They have a nice color to them, a nice depth. That lifeline goes down around the palm of your hand, nice and consistent. It means you have a good constitution. And it has to do with your health too. In general, once you get in there and get that spine adjusted, get that energy flowing correctly down in there, you're going to find that any health things that you have are going to start to dissipate. It's a good starting point to having optimal health. And you've got a good color to your hand also. Well, these images kind of get away from me sometimes. You've got a really nice consistent color to your hand, and that means in general good health. And let's see, we see here in your information your destined life path and purpose. Well, that's where your intuition comes in. Ask those guardian angels what that is. We can't tell you, well, you're destined to do this. You really can't get that from a handwriting. But what we can tell you is that you can use this resource here with the guardian angels and put some very deep thought into it, what you'd like to do. Do some research, what you'd like to do. Then ask your guardian angels, and you'll get your answer. And that goes along with your spiritual gifts. And we talked about your talents. And then, let's see, we talked about upcoming romantic connections. You've got a good marriage line there. Very strong marriage line. You've got some good money lines. You got some really good achievement lines down here. You actually have a lot of exciting things coming up in your life. Okay, very good. Good hand. We really appreciate this opportunity to help you unlock new elements of your life, and we truly hope that you enjoyed this experience. We wish you a long and successful journey. Thank you so much, and take care.